So I was in the Virginia and Maryland area, and had a lot of work-related sites ranging from downtown Baltimore to Virginia Beach and all around. Friday wrapped up and I hit the road to some social arrangements I had made for the weekend. Spent the weekend with friends out in various parts of Virginia, got dragged off to other places even further out, the usual weekend fun times. It's late Sunday night when I have to leave, or I'm not going to be able to get home in time to start my Monday. I'm fully rested, I didn't do any drinking, and I'm not into drugs. On the highway at 3 AM, in the middle of nowhere, between Roanoke and DC, absolutely nobody was around. I'm cruising along in the left lane simply because nobody else is around. No headlights for the past hour, no taillights either. It's dark, mildly damp, and foggy. I have the music up, I'm feeling good, and all is fine. And then I just happen to look to the left, and there's a fucking dog barking at me, a German Shepherd in a car passenger seat, somewhat blue glow from the instruments inside the car. And it's got its face to its window and it's barking its head off at me. I get a good hard look at it too, because at first my brain is not registering that it's a cop car. I'm doing 90 plus in a 75. I promptly have the oh shit moment when the dog, the instruments, the white crown, and the light bar all click in my brain after a second hard look. I put my foot on the brakes and start slowing down hard but safely to pull over. I even put my blinker on to start shifting lanes over to the right to pull over because, wait, there is no shoulder on the left side of the road. I look back to my left where there is no shoulder or room for another car. It's just gone, no trace. I slammed my brakes and stopped in the middle of the fucking highway. I flipped on all my light bars and even looked around with my handheld spot. There was nothing. No tail lights, no headlights, no engine sounds, nothing. There are no other tire marks in the damp but mine, and I can see for a nice long distance both ways too. Nothing. My vehicle had great visibility and a lot of extra lighting. There is no possible way somebody pulled a sneaky, let alone drove that fast on wet sloped grass and rocks on my left side for that long. It still baffles me to this day. What do you guys think? My dad told me and my brothers this story when we were growing up, and it's always stuck with me, particularly on long drives when I'm feeling a bit sleepy. The first time I remember hearing it was after I asked him if angels were real. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. My dad drove trucks decades ago, before I was born, and before labor laws around limits and breaks were more standard. He regularly accepted calls that would extend his shift to where he was driving 24, 36 hours, or more, without a break longer than a quick bathroom or fast food stop. My dad has a pretty mathematical brain. He's the type to make up logic puzzles out of something totally mundane, just for fun. Whenever we were driving around town, he regularly asked me things like how long would it take us to get from home to the store if we were going 30 miles an hour, but had to stop for 5 minutes in the middle because a family of kittens were crossing the road, and etc. He'd come up with similar equations for himself while he was driving solo that involved things he was seeing, like the odometer, mileage markers, the time, and then he could test his speed based on the equation. One night after having already driven a particularly long day, he noticed his eyes getting droopier, and the whole roll down the window and blast the music up thing didn't seem to be helping much. It was a rainy night on a pretty windy mountain road without a shoulder to pull over safely, so he started doing those logic games out loud to keep alert and awake. He was saying something to the effect of, I just passed mile marker 146, so what time will it be when I reach 200 if I'm going 55 miles an hour? Then he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and felt his head do the nod jerk thing, which woke him up with a gasp. He opened his eyes to see he was driving straight towards mile marker 158, which would have sent his whole truck tumbling down a random-ass mountain ravine. He was able to correct the course safely back, but it was a matter of seconds between that reality and certain death. He insists to this day that he slept through 12 miles of windy road going 60 plus miles per hour, only to wake up right at the last moment between life and death. The story usually ends with him tearing up saying, I don't know if there's angels, but I know there's something bigger going on in the universe that our human brains have not been able to understand yet. If I wouldn't have woken up right when I did, you kids wouldn't be here today. Years ago in the late 90s, I was on my way from my house in Central Texas, heading to Laredo to pick up a load. It was early morning, around 4 or 5 a.m. I had just come off a string of days at home, so I know I wasn't tired. I'm on one of those 2-lane winding roads in the absolute middle of nowhere, when I see something on the side of the road at the edge of my high beams. At first I just thought it was roadkill, as is usually the case. As I get closer, I see that it is roadkill, and there's someone crouching over the deer carcass. I remember thinking either this guy's taking the antlers as trophy or he's fucking sick. As I got closer still, I can now see that this guy's eating the fucking deer. He's pulling chunks of meat from the stomach and bringing them up to his face. At this point, he stops mid-motion and looks up at me. Not at my truck, but at me. It stands up and that's when I see that it's fucking huge, brown, and covered in hair. I remember thinking at this point, oh fuck, this thing is standing on the tiny shoulder looking at me. By this point, maybe 3 seconds have passed, and I'm about to the point in the road he's standing at. I didn't even think of stopping. In fact, I'm starting to lay on it and get the hell out of there. As I'm passing it, it's looking at me. Again, not at the truck. It's looking through the driver's side windshield at me. He obviously has the intelligence to know that there's a driver in here and knows where I'm sitting. As I start to pass him, I can still see its head above the hood of an old needle-nosed Pete. It's an old truck design where the hood goes straight out from the windshield, known for being tall and difficult to see around. I remember seeing what looked like human intelligence in his eyes. It scares the shit out of me to this day. I used to deliver hotshot freight across the Great Plains in the Minnesota area. One night, around 2 a.m., I was hauling across North Dakota trying to reach Montana by morning. I was delivering a particularly valuable tractor part that a farm desperately needed for the following day. I began to notice some highway hypnosis sneaking up on me, but it didn't really bother me because I've been through it hundreds of times before. Anyone who has driven across North Dakota knows that it's incredibly flat, like really flat. There also tends to be very straight and long roads. It's somewhat easy to see things on the road that are far away, even at night. I noticed something long on the road, spanning my entire lane, approximately half a mile in front of me. I slowed down a little and prepared to move in the opposite lane, thinking it was some retread off a blown tire or something. As I got closer, I noticed it was 2 people laying head to toe across the entire lane. I swerved into the other lane, successfully avoiding them, and came to an almost complete stop. But they didn't move, not an inch. I was just about to back up and check on them when I remembered a story that an old graybeard colleague of mine told me. He told me that in certain remote areas, people will lay down on the middle of the road and wait for a car or truck to stop and see what's going on. At that point, the road layers, along with whoever else is hiding in the nearby bushes, will beat the shit out of the driver and steal his vehicle, leaving him in the middle of nowhere. I decided not to back up, and when the 2 people on the road saw me put my truck back in gear and drive away, they both got up and walked towards the shoulder. I called the police and explained what happened, but we were so far away from civilization that I doubt anything came of it. Thanks to that old graybeard, I got to keep my truck, my job, and my teeth.